Every once in a while, someone introduces an idea that divides people into two extremes, and Sanas is one of them, aimed at minimizing racism by helping people sound more local. People think it's just giving everyone a white and American accent. A lot agree that it'll do more harm than good. In this video, we'll be taking a look at Sanas and what people are saying about it, so stay tuned. First off, people think that Sanas might make things worse by giving people American accents. Sanas may be just looking to help those receiving unfair racism, but is he really doing the right thing or just encouraging the very thing he's supposed to be defending against? Well, only time can tell the real answer. That is, of course, if the project becomes successful. In the meantime, let's say not many people like the idea of Silicon Valley. Sanas has already raised about $32 million in his favor, and his claim? Well, he says he wants to help people sound more local globally. In an interview with BBC, Keshava Narayana, a co-founder of Sanas, claimed that 90% of the employees and all of its founders were immigrants and denied the widespread criticism they've been receiving, that they were going to make the world sound white and American. But others disagree. Mia Shadan, for example, is strictly against the idea and even calls it triggering. She's the founder of Women in AI Ethics and Lighthouse 3, and also an immigrant from India with a non-American accent. She said that as someone who had faced a lot of discrimination because of her accent, she was sure this would only make the situation worse. Mia said that a person's accent makes them unique, and making a technology commonplace that erases this tells them that they aren't good enough. She also mentioned that just because something was legitimized by Stanford or the MITs didn't make it okay or any less offensive in the slightest. Secondly, Mia Shadan says Silicon Valley also has power dynamic, and whitening is common. Mia added that Silicon Valley also reinforced that power dynamic that goes back to the time of colonialism, meaning that instead of addressing the root cause of this constant discrimination, translating their accent into a type of whitening. Whitening is a power dynamic where people feel pressurized to make their skin whiter in an attempt to fit European beauty standards. This practice is widespread in historically colonized countries to this date. Basically, she pointed out the project was just a version of digital whitening, and instead of technology and quick access being used to make this world a better place, it boosted all of the hate and racism so many people are trying to fix. Steffelbauer also agreed with this opinion and revealed that she found Sanas technology rather unsettling and very disappointing. She said that this was just another example of how many ways they still had to go to get the tech industry and other services that come out to reflect the actual world. She also said that this technology was helping address racial biases at absolutely no angle. In fact, in her opinion, it didn't even attempt to approach a solution, but instead a support system for those who misbehave towards accented individuals. Those working in call centers have reported facing racialized hostility quite often. Sanas founders claim that this idea was brought up after a college friend from Stanford underperformed at a call center because he had a Central American accent. Next up, why Sanas came into being after brutal racism seen at call centers. Being a call center agent can be brutal on its own, especially when talking to entitled people. Add racism to the mix and you get something you want to avoid at all costs. It's the sad truth that this world is so far gone that a lot of people will feel they're better than you just by your accent. Dafina Swan, who has been a call center agent for 5 years and is from Trinidad and Tobago, said she had to deal with a lot of hostile and negative comments from callers who are adamant about speaking to someone who's American. She also talked about incidents where colleagues were called the N-word and told how they weren't human but black. Employees said that in an attempt to minimize the racial backlash they received, they were already trying to mimic customers' accents and even change their names long before Sanas. Osama Badr, who's a call center agent from Egypt, said that he tried to do the same, and it had worked. Ever since he had started introducing himself as Michael O'Connor rather than his real name, his performance ratings from customer surveys had been skyrocketing. Keshava Narayana also mentioned that he had a similar experience to Osama when he worked at a call center. Sometimes this method is implemented by employees, and other times by managers. Keshava had to go through 6 weeks of accent training and was asked to change his name to Ethan. He mentioned that some incidents stay with you for the rest of your life, and that had been one of those experiences for him. Finally, the Philippines lets call centers keep tax incentives and work-from-home setup. The Philippines Finance Secretary announced that the country's call centers and other business process outsourcing companies could keep their tax incentives and allow their employees to work from home. This settled an issue that had been hanging over the economically important sector. The nearly $30 billion industry has been lobbying for a permanent work-at-home setup. This setup was first implemented during COVID-19 lockdowns and is now preferred by the 1.4 million employees in the sector. But an investment regime, according to which many of the BPO companies operate, requires the workers to be on-site to enjoy fiscal perks. On the 15th of September, Benjamin Diokno, the finance secretary, told the Senate budget hearing while responding to a query by lawmakers on the issue that the tax incentives will continue and BPOs can opt to do it from home. The Fiscal Incentives Review Board, chaired by Diokno, met on the 14th of September and decided that BPO companies registered with the Philippine Economic Zone Authority may transfer their investment registration to the Board of Investments. This doesn't require on-site workers for companies to keep their incentives. Diokno said that problem is solved, and there will be a smooth transfer of benefits for some 2,000 companies. Now, in other news, first off, Greece displays positive improvement against racism and intolerance. In a new report, positive steps in Greece were landed by the European Commission against racism and intolerance since the previous reporting in 2014. Positive measures like Greece's National Action Plan against racism and intolerance to a national LGBTI equality strategy adopted for 2021 through 2025 improved the fight against discrimination and racism. According to the report, the ECRI has welcomed Greece's Migration and Social Integration Code, enabling third country nationals to apply for residence permits if they prove present in the country for 7 consecutive years. The report does, however, raise concerns over issues. Greece's equality body, the Greek Ombudsman, lacks the competence to provide legal representation to victims of discrimination or intolerance in court, to pursue strategic litigation, or to bring cases before the courts. Also, despite the national LGBTI equality plan, LGBTI pupils continue to face discrimination at school by students and teachers. Next up, Commonwealth Fund publishes blog on health equity around the world. A team of healthcare policy researchers has looked at efforts to advance health equality in 8 different nations and found some potentially helpful lessons for leaders in the U.S. healthcare system who are attempting to do the same. The New York City-based Commonwealth Fund published a blog on their website called Advancing Health Equity, Learning from Other Countries. Nason Mani, PhD, and Sandro Galea, MD, MPH, DRPH. The blog looked at experiences in Canada, France, Australia, Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, the United Kingdom, and New Zealand. They learned from leaders in those healthcare systems who work to advance health equity and end systematic racism, similar to what U.S. healthcare is trying to achieve. Finally, Atletico Madrid condemns racism chants against Vinicius Jr. and announces banning them. On Tuesday, a statement was released by Atletico Madrid condemning the racist chanting aimed at Vinicius Jr. before the Madrid derby. They announced that they would ban club members who are identified as having been involved. A group of Atletico fans were caught on video singing racial slurs before Sunday's derby at the Metropolitano Stadium, which Real Madrid later won 2-1. Local media also reported slurs and chants of Vinicius die being heard throughout the game. It is said that La Liga will be filing an official report regarding what happened with Spain's Anti-Violence Commission and the Spanish Football Federation's Disciplinary Committee. The club said that Atletico Madrid spoke up against the unacceptable chants that some of the fans made just outside the stadium before the derby was played. It said that their club has always been characterized by being an open and inclusive space for fans of different nationalities, cultures, races, and social classes, and a few people can't tarnish that image. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Sanas is right, or do you feel like it does more harm than good? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.